Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Leslie Mays and I am the Outreach Senior Advisor at the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta's Jacksonville branch. And today I'm going to be conducting an inflation auction with you. Before we get started, I again also want to make the standard disclaimer that these are my thoughts and opinions, not those of the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta or the Federal Reserve System. And now that we've got that disclaimer underway, we're going to talk a little bit more about price stability and inflation. So if you were with us yesterday, we did talk about the infographics, and this is from our infographic on price stability. As I mentioned yesterday, we framed our discussions of unemployment and inflation around the Fed's dual mandate. So here we talk about price stability and how the Fed measures price level changes. This is in our macroeconomic series. If you weren't with us yesterday, we have 11 economics infographic posters, and we also have a number of personal finance infographic posters that you can order for free from our website. They also come with an accompanying activity guide that has lessons and activities that you can use with the posters. So when we look at price stability, that's when the rate of inflation is kept low and stable over an extended period of time. And when we look at the price level, we're going to be looking at the current prices of everything sold in our economy. And that's very important to emphasize with students that when we talk about inflation, we're not talking about the price of one good going up, but we're talking about the price level. Now this is from our infographic, and we look here, and in year one, we've got a basket of goods. Jeanette talked with you about the basket of goods. I kind of talk about with students and they actually do have people who go around and do this for the Bureau of Labor Statistics, kind of like having a clipboard and ice cream, how much is it? Or hot dog, how much is it? And so we have a simple basket of goods here. This comes from our infographic: ice cream, a hot dog, French fries, and soda pop. And in year one, that costs $2.75. In year two, the prices have changed. In year two, ice cream is now $1. Hot dog is $2. It's doubled in price, as has ice cream, and French fries are $1.50, and we've seen a bit of an increase in soda pop as well. Now that very same basket of goods costs $5.17, or as the infographic points out, it takes 88% more money to buy the same basket of goods in year two. And so our first two presenters, Kevin and Jeanette, both talked about inflation reducing purchasing power. And so that's what we're seeing here. One of the things I've seen a lot, and I've started to see a lot of posts about prices, and we saw some pictures of how different prices have gone up, particularly of gasoline. So I have a question for you, and I am going to use a Slido here. And I'm going to move some of so I can see that. And I'm going to open this poll, and I'm going to ask you to guess, what was the price of a gallon of gas in 1965? Just what you think it was. And there's our code, 3206605. We've got quite a range here, from 18 cents to $1. And I'll let the guesses come in here. I see someone has the same source I do on this one. I'm going to give it just a little bit more. All right, I'm going to close it out. We got one or two more people that are typing in here. All right, so, okay, I see somebody has used that question as the same source I do, and so I've looked at a number of sources, and 31 cents is the answer. So I saw a post somebody had shared just actually yesterday, and they were showing, you know, the good old days when gas was 31 cents. But one thing I like to bring up with students, and I hear this, or sometimes you hear people say a dollar just isn't a dollar anymore, is that it's really hard to compare prices in time because of inflation. So I've got another question for you, and this is the way I like to frame it with students. Here's a poll for you. What was the minimum wage in 1965? I'm going to give some time for their answers to roll in. Okay, looks like we've just about settled on our answers here. 125 is the correct answer. And so I think this is a way when, and a little bit later on in the presentation, I'll tell you about another way that you can frame this for students, so they understand that a price in 1965, because of inflation, is not the same as that same amount today. And one thing also that you could use if you worked, a lot of students who are working in high school, you could tell if you worked when you were in high school, tell them what your wage was when you worked in high school. And we also have some CPI calculators that you can use online and then translate that into today's money, which is always an interesting exercise to go through with students so they can see that it's very difficult to compare prices over time. And that is because of inflation. So here is from our infographic a little bit about who gains and who loses from unanticipated inflation. Usually when we're talking about inflation, talking about somebody gaining seems odd, but Kevin went through the exercise this morning where people did gain from unanticipated inflation, particularly borrowers. If you have a fixed interest rate loan, or paying their loan with money that has less purchasing power. In the example I use, my parents bought a home in 1966. They sold it in 1996, so I think they were just finishing up their 30-year mortgage. At that time, their power bill was more than their mortgage because they had that fixed payment every month from 1966. And so borrowers gain because the money they're repaying is, as inflation progresses, it has less purchasing power. Now, lenders, the ones who lent out that money, if it's at a fixed rate, they're going to be paid back with money that has less purchasing power. So I have a question for you. Besides lenders, who might be another group that would be harmed by inflation? And I'm going to open that for us. Answers are already starting. Okay, see, savers, Kevin talked about that in his presentation, people on a fixed income. And one thing that was also mentioned is how young people don't have a lot of experience with inflation. They may have never really seen it much in their lifetime. And when you're on a fixed income, when you're retired on a fixed income, inflation could greatly reduce the purchasing power of that fixed income. And that's something that people who have not had a lot of experience with inflation might not think about planning on. And I see someone put everyone, people who are, people who are paying those, who are seeing their purchasing power be reduced, certainly. People have, and we talked about the lenders, retirees, people who are, have leases that are, if inflation is increasing at a rapid rate, those, and so there are other people who are hurt by inflation and harmed by it. And I think that's a good thing to point out that since I see so many people have answered not only about savers, and we always stress the importance of saving with students, but also to keep in mind inflation. As was mentioned, so if inflation is running about 8% and you're getting 2% on your savings, you're losing. You're not keeping up with inflation. And we talked about how that also works with raises on salaries and incomes and how that could affect you. And so that's something to keep in mind, that it affects, can harm savers and those who are on a fixed income. So here is a part about how we measure inflation. We did talk about a little bit in the last session. I'm going to go into a little bit more depth on that. And so if we look at the measure of prices that consumers pay in inflation indices, one of them is, of course, and the one we're the most familiar with is the Consumer Price Index. And that is put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It does measure the average change in time and prices paid by urban consumers and for a market basket of goods. So one of the things about that market basket is it does reflect those urban consumers. It's derived by from household surveys, and it does have a fixed basket. Now, that basket is updated over time, but not immediately. One thing we know is that when prices rise, you might substitute something that you would normally buy for something else, and that isn't immediately captured in the CPI. But the CPI is what is used to adjust the cost of living adjustment for Social Security or people on SSI. That's about 70 million people in our country. It is also the index that is used for the Treasury inflation protected securities. And so we are very familiar with the Consumer Price Index, which is put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. But I also want to tell you a little bit about the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, or the PCE, and that is formulated by the Bureau of Economic Analysis. And so the PCE captures changes for the personal consumption component of GDP. So your GDP formula, C plus I plus G plus net exports, and that C portion of personal consumption expenditures is what it is tracking. And this is the measure that the Federal Open Market Committee uses with its target of 2% average inflation. They use the PCE. So before I go into a little bit more detail about it, I'm going to ask you, what are some ways the PCE differs from CPI? What do you know, or maybe you haven't heard of the PCE before? I'm asking for your thoughts here before we kind of compare them side by side. And I don't know is perfectly all right, because that's what we're going to get into. Question mark is perfectly fine. I'm seeing some really good answers. Exactly, not sure, exactly. Okay, so it looks like our rolling answers have kind of come to a little bit of a lull, so I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it. Now, CPI does tend to show a little bit more inflation than the PCE. We talked about the year-over-year average of the headline rate that the CPI is shown of 8.5%, where the CPI is showing 6.3%. And when you look at the core CPI versus the core PCE, there is about a 1% difference there. And so there are some differences in them. So CPI is going to show us changes in prices that consumers pay directly. The PCE does show some of it does reflect prices that businesses charge. The CPI will show consumers are impacted in the short term because it does come from a consumer survey. And there's four kind of technical ways that they differ. The PCE, and this is the formula way, the PCE does account for the way people change what they buy based on price changes, where the CPI is that fixed basket. As far as the weight, somebody mentioned that here. The BLS is using the consumer survey where the Bureau of Economic Analysis is compiling business surveys. Another part is the scope. So the BLS is capturing out-of-pocket expenses by urban households, where the PCE looks at goods and services both rural and urban. It's a little bit broader, it's a little bit less volatile there. It looks at spending by all households and also captures nonprofit institution spending. So for instance, if you look at the category of medical expenses, CPI is going to be capturing the out-of-pocket medical expenses, where the Bureau of Economic Analysis also is going to be including spending by private health insurers. There's some other seasonal variations and other miscellaneous ways that the weights are different. But for instance, in the CPI, you're going to see more inflation weighted more in areas such as shelter and gasoline, where healthcare would be emphasized because of the way it's counted. You would see that more in the PCE. But the reason that it is preferred for the Federal Reserve, FOMC, and their decision making is because it is more accurate on showing an underlying inflation trend. And the Fed made that change of preferring the PCE in the year 2000. So that's some of the differences between them. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the volatility as well. And that is the core versus the headline rates. So the core rate excludes food and energy. And of course, that's people say, well, those are the things that are really going up right now. And these are the things I'm spending a lot of money on. But the reason that they're excluded is because they are very volatile. And so this gives us a better picture of the underlying short-term trends if we take them out. The headline is going to include both of them, and that's going to more accurately reflect what people are spending, their actual expenditures. And so one thing that you can do with students is think about what are some factors that influence food and energy prices, and I'm going to let you weigh in on that. Supply and demand. Yes. So definitely supply and demand, but one of the things that contributes to the volatility of food and energy prices are things that such as the weather, right? If we have a drought, a crop failure, climate, people have got in here the wars and politics. So different things that are outside of supply and demand can affect the prices of food and energy as well, which can contribute to them being more volatile. And here is, this is the last part of our infographic, how you calculate the inflation rate using the CPI price index, and that just gives the formula there if you're teaching that with your students. And then we're bringing it back full circle from actually both of my presentations that I've given during the Institute, that our mission, our dual mandate to conducting the nation's monetary policy, influencing monetary and credit conditions in the economy in the pursuit of maximum employment, which we talked about yesterday, stable prices, and moderate long-term interest rates. And so that all ties in together there. So what I'm going to do now is an inflation auction. So this is an activity that, a really quick activity that you can do with students. It's something that I think it just brings on that light bulb moment for them when you're talking about inflation. Now, doing the auction virtually, this is going to be a new experiment. Normally we would have students in the classroom, you would have your auction items, we have lesson plans that would have representations of money, or you could use something such as dried beans to represent money for the inflation auction, but we are going to try this virtually. And Robin's going to be checking the chat for me to see who we have as our winners. So I'm going to tell you how we're going to set up this inflation auction. But before we get started, we are going to talk about what is money, because we're going to be using money in the inflation auction. So I'm going to let you put in your answers there about what is money. Okay, we've got a medium of exchange, definitely one of the functions of money. Okay. And we do have a number of lessons that talk about the functions of money, the characteristics of money that you can use with students, if that's one of the standards that you're teaching. I am going to take us to this definition. Anything widely accepted in exchange for goods and services. That's the medium of exchange function. We do have in our country a fiat money. Yesterday we learned about the museums that we have throughout our system. We have guided tours of the Jacksonville branch, and we have a lot of people who come through our tours who are not aware that we do have a fiat money system. So our money doesn't have any intrinsic value, no value in and of itself. It's not backed by gold. It is money because of a fiat, or because the government says that it's money. You have that little phrase, this note is legal tender for all goods, public and private. That's what makes it money. And we went off the gold standard in the 1930s. And money has three basic functions. One is a medium of exchange, that everyone brought that up in the Slido. The buyers give sellers in exchange for goods and services. So I want to go to a fast food place and get a chicken sandwich. I give them $5 or $6. They give me the chicken sandwich. That's the medium of exchange function. Also, unit of account. Someone mentioned this in the Slido, like a yardstick, a way that we can measure values, to post prices and record debts. It's a yardstick. And so when I go up to get my chicken sandwich, it doesn't say a chicken sandwich equals 2 fries or chicken sandwich equals a milkshake. It says chicken sandwich $6. I know how much $6 is. And if the fry is $2, I know that's less than the chicken sandwich. And so we use that as a measure of value, so we can post prices and record debts, and then store a value. So that's transferring purchasing power from the present to the future. And the example I use for this, which is is one that I've found out a lot of people use, is thinking about right now it's the summertime, but when fall comes around, you might put on a jacket and then you reach in the pocket and oh, it's your lucky day. There's a $5 bill in there. And can you go out and spend it? Yeah, go out and spend it. But let's say I'm going through my attic and I find a piggy bank full of coins that I put away in 1980. Could I go out and spend them? Yep. Are they going to have the same purchasing power that they had in 1980? No. So, so these are the three functions of money. We'll get that before we start our auction. So because of inflation, when we look at our coins, when we look at store of value over time, the purchasing power will erode due to inflation. And so one thing, again, is that we need to think of it's not one price going up, but a general sustained movement of prices for goods and services in the economy. Not just the price of one good or service. And another way we talk about it is too much money chasing too few goods. So here's our auction rules. So there's going to be 3 items that are going to be auctioned. I'm going to tell you what they are. So we've got this Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta notebook. It's lined and it's spiral bound. And so we've got the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta notebook. And I am out here at the beach, and so I have a beach package. So I have an Atlantic Beach Cozy. Jacksonville is right by the beach, and I've got a beach tote. That's item number 2. And then item number 3 is this Amazon gift card. So those are our 3 items that we're going to auction. And the highest bidder is going to win each item. And these items are going to represent the total output of goods and services produced in our classroom economy. So how am I going to do this? Because I can't pass out, something like beans for everyone to have for money. Well, I decided that the way I'm going to do this virtual is have it on your birth date. So if you're born on the 16th, you have $16, and we're going to use the honor system here. But then I thought about people who are born on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and they're going to be like, wait a minute. So what I want you to do is take your birth date. So if you're born on the 16th, you got $16, and then I'm going to let you add 20. So for those of you who are born on the 1st, you now have $21. You're born on the 30th, you have $50. It's just going to be random, just like the coin flip we did earlier. If you were doing in the classroom, some of the kids are going to say, why don't I get the same as they did? Because in a real economy, everyone doesn't have the same money. And while we won't be able to do this virtually, one thing you really have to do to make this run right when you're in the classroom is to make sure that students do not combine with each other, because they will. They will try to combine, and we're not doing it that way. That's so these are the auction rules, okay? If everyone's got, so you got your birthday plus 20. So if you're on the 5th, you got $25 in the auction. And we are going to get started with my first item, which is the notebook. And so I'm going to let you in the chat. I want you to put how much you want for the bid on in the chat. You're going to bid on this notebook. And I am going to give us just a little. I'm going to count down 30 seconds, and I'm going to give you the 10-second warning. Okay, I'm going to go 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bidding is closed. So do we have a winner for the notebook?
Hi, Leslie. We sort of do, but someone who bid 52, it's been determined that it's impossible to have 52. Right? So,
Yes, 51 would be the most you could bid.
right. So we do have a winner that did bid 51, and that's William.
Okay, William, okay. I'm going to ask the winners to email me so they can get their prizes. Okay, that is for the notebook. Next up is going to be the beach package. Okay, so ready? Go ahead and bid. 30 seconds.
I made a mistake, Leslie. William wasn't the winner on the last one. It was Richard. So
Okay. Okay. All right, we're down to 10 for the beach package. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, beach package. Do we have a winner?
we do have a winner at 43 with Lori Jacobson.
Okay, 43, Lori. And what was our price for the first one for the notebook?
It was 51.
51. All right. So we've got 51 notebook, 43 beach tote, and now we have the Amazon card. So ready, set, bid. 30 seconds.
We have a few bids that are not possible.
Okay, can't go over 51. That's impossible. And if we have a tie, it's whoever got it in first. So I believe we are at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Do we have a winner for the gift card?
We do. It's a bid of 51.
Okay.
And it goes to, let me see.
Whoever got it in first, do we have a tie?
Yeah, Vandita. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce your name.
All right. Okay. All right. Okay, now what I'm going to show you is here's our prices, 51, 43, and 51. Now we're going to do the auction again. And I want you to, okay, if you already won something, whatever you bid, if you've used all your money, you have 0. If you bid 51, you're at 0. If you didn't bid or win, you've got what you had from round 1. So if your birthday's on 1 and you have 21 and you didn't win anything, you've got 21. And so now I want you to, if you did not win, you're going to double what you have. So if you didn't win and you had 16, you now have 32. And those who did win, you're going to start it. You're going to have 20 plus you're going to double, and you're going to have 20. Or actually, yeah, you'll have 20. Add 20 to your birth date. That's what you're going to have. Those who won, because you're at 0. So 20 in your birth date, and we're going to double everybody else. Okay. And now we are going to have the auction again, and we're going to have the notebook. And so bidding begins now. 30 seconds.
We have a 60 with Diane for the high bid at the moment.
Okay, I'm at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, do we have a winner?
Yes, we do. Diane is our winner at $60.
Okay, all right, so round two, $60. Okay, now we are going.
Oh, wait a minute, Leslie, I'm so sorry. There was a last minute entry of 62.
Okay, 62 then is the winner.
And that's Johanna or Johanna.
Okay, Johanna, okay. And then we are going to do the beach package. Ready, beach package, ready, set, bid.
Is it possible to get 84?
Yeah, yeah. Yes, if you are born at the end of the month, it's possible to have 84. Yes, because you added the, well, wait a minute. Yeah, it's possible after, yes, because you added 20 to your birth date. So yes, it is.
Okay.
And double that. So it is possible. I think we are at 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Our
All right.
winner is Jason with 66.
Okay, 66. I think I've lost my pen to record that. Okay, 66 for the beach tote and koozie.
What happened
Sorry,
to
Diane at
84?
84. Diane at 84. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Diane at 84. Okay. Yes. Okay, that's for the beach tote. Okay, and now the Amazon card. Last one, 30 seconds.
This is exciting. I just feel like I should have people cheering or something, you know?
And now at 10 seconds, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And do we have a winner?
Yes, we do. And forgive me if I get this wrong. I have Philip at 102.
Okay, all right. Well, you want to have my email? You can email me where you want me to send these, and this is 102. So I want to show this. I'm not going to type them in on the screen here because I have to go out of my mode for presentation. But you can see here, we went from we had the very same items, but somehow in round two, the notebook was worth $62. Beach tote was worth 66, and the gift card doubled. What happened? Why, when we had the exact same items, were they that? Why did the prices or the bid prices go up so much? What happened between round one and round two?
We have an answer of money supply increased.
Exactly. More money in circulation, money supply increased. So as I said, too much money chasing too few goods. This is a quick, simple way, something you can do with your students. Show them this. And if you're doing the, if you're doing some of the classes, you might want to show them an equation of exchange. And there's the lesson talks about that. You can, if your class does that as well. But that is a way to show how increase in the money supply and the connection between an increase in the money supply and an increase in the price level. And so there's just talking a little bit more, and that's a just quick, easy way to show students the relationship between the money supply and inflation. I'm just about at time. Congratulations to all of our winners, and actually everybody, because you're here today, you're a winner. So I don't want to even say that word, because all the people who are the highest auction bidders. How about that? And I did want to highlight some resources. Our infographic, we have a video on inflation. Actually, one of our speakers yesterday, Scott Walla, has a video that on this inflation auction that you can look at, and a lesson there about the inflation auction that comes with PowerPoints that you can use. I've got that link there. In addition to the page one that Jeanette highlighted, there's another one called Money and Inflation, a Functional Relationship, that highlights that relationship between the money supply and inflation. And we also have from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, a bell ringer, real versus nominal values. Let's go to the movies, and it's another way to show students about the difference between nominal and real values. Because every time the latest blockbuster comes out, they say it set box office records. Well, they're counting that because the ticket costs $20, and they're adding up tickets sold times $20, right? And so comparing, it shows inflation, and it uses in the movies, and how nominal values and real values differ, and it even answers the question of what actually is the greatest selling movie of all time, and it was released in the 1930s. And so I am going to leave you with that. These are some of our resources, and I am going to stop sharing my screen, and you will have my email if you are one of the highest auction bidders. And yes, I see it was Gone with the Wind. If you adjust for inflation, it is the highest grossing of all time. And so I encourage you to check out those resources, and I'm going to hand it back off to Eva for a break.